All right, second graders, here we go with Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, Chapter 5, Part 2, The Radish Cure. The radish cure? Said Patsy's mother. Yes, said Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle. The radish cure is just what Patsy needs. All you have to do is buy one package of radish seeds. The small red round ones are the best. And don't get the long white icicle type. Then let Patsy strictly alone as far as washing is concerned for several weeks. When she is about half an inch of rich black dirt all over her, and after she is asleep at night, scatter radish seeds on her arms and head. Pass them gently, press them gently, and then just wait. I don't think you will have to water them because you are in the rainy season now and she'll probably go outdoors now and then. When the little radish plants have 3 leaves, you may start pulling the larger ones. Oh, yes, Patsy will probably look quite horrible before the radish cure is over. So if you find that she is scaring too many people or her father objects to having her around, let me know and I will be glad to take her over here. You see, all of my visitors are children, and dirt doesn't frighten them. Patsy's mother thanked Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle very much for her kind advice, and then she hung up. And then she called Patsy's father and told him to be sure to bring home a package of radish seeds. Early red globe, she thought they were called. The next morning, she didn't say a single word to Patsy about a bath, and so Patsy was sweet and didn't act like a wild animal. The next day, she was the same, and so was the next and the next. When Sunday came, Patsy had a rather dark blackish gray color, so her mother suggested that she stay home from Sunday school. Patsy's father, who by this time had been told of the radish cure, didn't say anything to Patsy about washing, but he winced whenever he looked at her. By the end of the 3rd week, they had to keep Patsy indoors all the time because one morning she skipped out to get the mail, and the postman, on seeing her straggly, uncombed, dark caked hair and the rapid forming layer of topsoil on her face and neck and arms, gave a terrified yell and fell down the front steps. Patsy seemed quite happy, though. Of course, it was getting hard to tell how she felt, as her face was so caked with dirt, and she couldn't smile, and she talked Okie is I am antsy, and I can't it talk like that. She also had to take little eensy bites of food because she couldn't open her mouth more than a crack. Naturally, her father and her mother had to stop having friends in to visit, except in the evening when Patsy was in bed, and even when they were not all comfortable for fear that Patsy would wake up and call, really it means, bring me a drink of water, Daddy. At last, however, the day came when Patsy was ready to plant. That night, she was asleep. Her mother and father tiptoed into her room and very gently pressed radish seeds into her forehead, her arms, and her back of her hands. When they had finished, they were standing by her bed, gazing fondly at their handiwork. Patsy's father said, "Repulsive little thing, isn't she?" Patsy's mother said, "Why, George, that's a terrible thing to say of your own child. My little girl is buried so deep in the dirt that I can't even remember what she looks like," said Patsy's father, and he stamped down the stairs. The radish cure is certainly hard on parents. Quite a few days after that, Patsy woke one morning, and there on the back of her hand, in fact, on the backs of both hands, and on her arms and on her forehead, were green leaves. Patsy tried to brush them off, but they just bent over and sprung right back up. She jumped out of bed and ran down the stairs to the dining room where her mother and father were eating breakfast. "Ugh, ugh, and my hands!" she squeaked. Her father said, "Behold the bloom of youth!" And her mother said, "George." Then jumped up briskly and went over to Patsy, looked at her, took a firm hold of one of her plants on her forehead, and gave a quick jerk. Patsy squealed, and her mother showed her the little red radish that she pulled. Patsy tried to pull out one of her on her arms, but her hands were so caked with dirt that they couldn't grasp the little leaves, so her mother had to pull them. When they had finished one hand and part of the other arm, Patsy suddenly said, "Other arm!" "What did she say?" asked her mother, busily pulling the radishes and putting them in a neat little pile on the dining room table. "I want a bath," said Patsy so plainly that it cracked the mud on her left cheek. Patsy's mother said, "I think it better be a shower," and without another word she went in and turned on the warm water. Patsy was in the shower all day. She used up 2 whole bars of soap and didn't even come out for lunch. When her father came home for dinner, there she was, waiting for him at the door, clean, sweet, and smiling. And in her hand, she had a plate full of little radishes. All right, so this chapter really ended up being about a little girl who didn't want to bathe, and instead she was so dirty she was able to grow radishes. Interesting. All right, we'll see what Mrs. Pickle-Wiggle has for a cure next time.